Sudan, a North African nation with a rich cultural heritage, has experienced a complex mix of political and ethnic conflicts since gaining independence from Britain and Egypt in 1956. To understand the recent conflict in Sudan, we must first look at the country's violent past. The Darfur conflict, which began in 2003, is one of the most significant conflicts in Sudan's history. The region in western Sudan has experienced a lot of violence between the government and rebel groups, resulting in a crisis that has caused many deaths and forced millions of people to become refugees. The conflict in Darfur led to the emergence of two groups with different ideologies and political beliefs. To understand the issue better, it is important to know about two key figures who will have a significant impact on future conflicts. Mohammed Hamdan Hemeti Dagalo is the leader of the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, a paramilitary group that was created in 2013 by some of the Janjaweed militias responsible for carrying out atrocities in Darfur. On the other hand, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan is a career military officer who led Sudanese ground forces in the early years of the Darfur conflict. Burhan and Hemeti teamed up in 2019 to remove Sudan's longtime dictator Omar al-Bashir in response to widespread protests. However, after overthrowing a civilian transitional government, they began arguing over who would ultimately control Sudan's armed forces and various companies, including those in agriculture, banking, and mining. The struggle for power in Sudan has intensified due to pressure from international organizations like the United Nations and the US, who have been urging military leaders to return the country to civilian rule and respect human rights. After the introduction of an internationally supported plan for a new civilian-led government, the plan required both the army and RSF to give up their power, but there were two main points of disagreement. One was about when the RSF would merge with the regular armed forces, and the other was about when the army would come under the control of civilians. However, disagreements over the details of the transition plan led to a stalemate. The army and the RSF were unable to reach an agreement. On April 15, 2023, a conflict arose, and both parties accused each other of inciting the violence. The army claimed that the RSF had unlawfully mobilized in the days leading up to the event, while the RSF alleged that the army and Bashir supporters were conspiring to take over full control as it advanced towards key locations in Khartoum. The fighting quickly escalated, with both sides using weapons and artillery fire. The military also began using jet fighters to attack RSF positions, many of which were located in heavily populated areas. As a result, millions of Sudanese were trapped with decreasing food and water supplies, and tens of thousands were forced to flee their homes. The conflict drew international attention and condemnation, with calls for an immediate ceasefire and a return to civilian rule. Moreover, the conflict in Sudan has the potential to turn into a proxy war for major global powers. The United States and Russia could get involved in the conflict to expand their influence in the region. This competition for power and influence could significantly complicate and prolong the resolution of the conflict. The leaders of Sudan don't seem to be particularly picky about their alliances. After the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, most of the world avoided and sanctioned Russia, but Sudan gave Moscow a financial lifeline thanks to its gold reserves. A firm called Meroe Gold was established back in 2017 by Russia and Sudan as a subsidiary of the Wagner Group. Following a meeting between Presidents Bashir and Putin of Russia, the company was established with a focus on Sudan's gold reserves. Moscow has increasingly aligned itself with Hemeti as he seeks to gain authority over the country's wealthiest gold mines. The Wagner Group's involvement in the extraction of Sudanese gold and its position in providing fighters in Ukraine have led many observers to think that Sudanese gold is being used to bankroll Moscow's conflict. In return, Russia has provided political and military support to Sudan's paramilitary leadership. As the world watches and calls for an immediate ceasefire, it is clear that a long-term solution to the conflict will require a commitment to human rights and sustainable economic development. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our channel for more content like this in the future.